This nation's championship weekend saw individual try-scoring records fall and historic winning droughts finally end. France arrived in Brisbane and delivered a clinical second half, scoring 30 unanswered points to break a winning drought in Australia stretching back to 1972. Meanwhile, in Pretoria, South Africa weathered a persistent Scottish attack for 80 minutes, only securing the match with a turnover and a try in the final moments. These contrasting results point to a specific choice international coaches are making, a commitment to one of two distinct tactical blueprints. High-performing players are now measured by how they serve these specific systems, either through unpredictable attacking innovation or by reinforcing a wall of rigid defensive reliability. On one side, we have mercurial fluidity. This approach builds the game plan around individual risk-taking, offloads, and putting multiple playmakers on the field simultaneously. On the other side is systemic resilience. This relies on veteran role players maintaining an absorbing defensive shape until the opponent eventually makes a mistake. This matrix shows the two strategies defining this World Cup cycle. We have the innovators, like France and Scotland, relying on fluidity, and the enforcers, like South Africa and New Zealand, prioritizing structure. We are going to test these two models to figure out which tactical system yields the highest return on investment over 80 minutes. For team managers and analysts, understanding this specific trade-off is the only way to accurately value a player's real output. France unveiled their boldest tactical gamble of the summer right here at Suncorp Stadium. They placed two primary playmakers, Mathieu Jalibert and Romain Ntamak, in the same starting 15 to create a constant counter-attacking threat from the backfield. The outcome was a 30-point second-half surge that left the Wallabies without a reply. This chart plots how that French setup balances reliance on the system against individual skill. By using Jalibert as a dual conductor, France moves into the quadrant of high individual brilliance and low systemic dependency. Using a secondary fly-half at the back requires a trade. You gain a second playmaker, but you lose the aerial stability and defensive positioning of a traditional fullback. If the forwards fail to win the gain line, having two conductors trying to run a retreating orchestra leads directly to structural confusion. The dual playmaker model offers a massive scoring ceiling, but it leaves a team vulnerable to a total system collapse if the opposition dominates the physical exchanges. South Africa took a different approach at Loftus, relying on structural pressure rather than attacking flair. The Springboks relied on a veteran backline supported by forwards willing to do the exhausting work in the tight exchanges. The metrics were purely defensive. Ruan Norche logged 19 tackles, while Jesse Kriel and the rest of the backline maintained their alignment under constant pressure. By absorbing the Scottish attack for 78 minutes, the Springboks stayed within reach and eventually secured the win through systemic patience. Back on our evaluation chart, the Springbok enforcers sit firmly in the high system dependency zone. This style yields very few highlight reel attacking phases and demands a punishing level of physical endurance from the entire squad. The Fortress model provides a high-performance floor. Even when individual tackles are slipped, the system is designed to swallow those errors and protect the result. Scotland's attack is engineered differently, focusing creative responsibility on a single player. Finn Russell was given total freedom to dictate the point of attack, teasing the defensive line before every collision. This produced spectacular thingses, including 10-phase sequences and cut-out passes that floated directly over the South African blitz. This model successfully empowered power runners like Sione Tuipulotu, who gained 72 meters and beat 6 defenders in the midfield. Plotting Scotland's reliance on Russell pushes his icon into the extreme corner of individual brilliance. Despite this effort, the scoreboard favored the Springboks. Russell played one of the finest matches of his career, but his brilliance was met by a superior defensive structure. Individual effort and spectacular faceplay do not guarantee a victory when facing an elite 80-minute defensive system. This brings us to the bench, where the injection of raw youth can shift the ROI of a tiring system. England tested this by holding an untested 19-year-old back rower until the final quarter. Henry Pollock scored 3 tries in a brief cameo, gassing veteran defenders on the outside with pure acceleration. On our chart, a rookie impact player hits this high-yield, high-brilliance zone, delivering maximum return for minimal tactical investment. However, raw speed is a late-game asset. It destroys tired teams in the 75th minute, but rarely provides the repetitive grind required from the opening kickoff. High-yield rookies are excellent ceiling breakers, though they lack the systemic stability coaches need for a full 80 minutes. In Pretoria, South Africa's system swallowed elite individual efforts, while in Brisbane, France used innovation to end a 50-year losing streak. This flowchart maps these conflicting models to your squad or fantasy roster. Championship window teams often invest in enforcers, using systemic reliability to secure narrow wins. Rebuilding teams need innovators, taking structural risks with playmaking specialists to find a new scoring ceiling. Fantasy managers should apply the same logic. Balance your roster with steady yield veterans for defensive points, and use low-cost rookies as breakout options. Ultimately, high-quality analysis requires looking past the mere spectacle of a single offload or a 30-meter sprint. The most effective selections are the players whose individual output matches the specific tactical input their team's system requires.